Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to show you a simple, short and quite satisfying practice which is going to move most parts of your body. Most of this practice is done in all fours position, and even if you tend to avoid these positions because you think that your wrists or your knees are fragile, I would recommend you to start introducing some moments where you do keep the support on these surfaces, as if you avoid these movements completely, this is actually only increasing this fragility of your tissues. So you're making yourself anti-fragile by gradually building up the amount of time that you can spend in all fours. Let's start in all fours position. And here I always invite you to look for a place where you really use the support of your entire palms and entire lower legs from the knees all the way to the toes. And also that when you're finding a place of support, you're neither collapsing with all your weight heavily into the joints, so into your wrists and in your knees, nor pushing away, creating unnecessary tension in your arms or in your abdomen. So there is some place in between where you can receive the support from the earth without collapsing. And that is actually a place where you don't feel any discomfort in the wrists nor in the knees, and you could stay here comfortably for quite a long time. The second thing to pay attention to is at the top of the head and the tail, creating in your imagination a kind of a line or rope that connects the top of the head with the tail. You might even imagine that someone is gently tugging at both ends so that nothing collapses or arches and goes out of the line or disconnects with the rest. There is a constant communication between those 2 points. And you could start with walking your hands in such a way that every time you place your palms on the ground, you change the angle of where your fingers are pointing. They might be pointing out, in, maybe all the way towards you. And that is the best way actually to give a little bit of a break to your wrists as well. So if you start feeling that there is a little bit of a pressure on the wrist, try this first before you come out of it completely. Okay, after that, let's try cat and cow in a maybe slightly different way that you're used to. So you could imagine that you have a hook that is attached right to the middle of your spine, and someone starts pulling by that hook upwards. So the rest of the spine starts responding to this movement, and that creates this sort of even arch, almost like the arch of a rainbow, where the head and the tail drop at the very end of the movement. And here I'm not pushing away with my hands, I'm not sucking the belly in. I'm imagining that all of this is done by that imaginary hook pulling me upwards. And then I can return to the neutral position. So again, imagining as if something was pulling you by the top of the head from one direction and by the tail from the other direction. Now I can imagine the same from the other side, as if there was this hook attached right to the middle of the spine, and this time was pulling me down. So here I could be tempted to arch to maximum that part of the spine which can do it. I'm going to show it just to so that you get an idea of what I mean. I could do this. I could go to my maximum in the lumbar spine, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to create this huge, sharp angles. I want that even arch that travels through entire spine with the head and tail lifting at the end of this movement. So just as I don't want this massive arch just in the upper back with a flat spine in the lumbar region when I arch upwards, in the same way I don't want that big angle in my lumbar spine. That's why I imagine this movement starting right from the middle and traveling in a very even way, in that nice arch, both up and down the spine at the same time. And then I return to the neutral place. Whenever I need a break, I might walk my hands or move the weight more towards the heels, keeping still some of it forward or sitting all the way back to the heels. Now we've done that movement of arching and curving the spine. Let's see where it would like to move sideways. So again, you still want to have the same weight over all four limbs and that connection between the top of the head and the tail. Now you can tuck the toes in one foot, let's say it's the left foot, and create a movement as if you wanted to squeeze that left side of the body. So it's not you moving the shoulder as far as you can reach. You can see that if I do that, my hip actually travels to the opposite side. So I want them to meet, to come closer together, the shoulder and the hip, and not the hip to escape from me. So that means that, again, this is an even movement. It's the same movement for the shoulder and for the hip, coming closer towards one another. You could imagine that you're squashing something soft and juicy between your hip and the lower ribs. So you could use the exhalation to create that shortening on the one side of the body. Obviously, the other side at the same time lengthens automatically. And then you come back to neutral. As you can see, my head does not turn in the sense that I'm not looking out to the side. I'm still looking down so that the back of the neck can remain long with this movement. And then it's the same for the other side. So you might now notice that when I'm squeezing or shortening that right side of the body, the left side of the body automatically lengthens and create some space there. You can do it at your own pace. Exhalation being the squeeze, inhalation returning to the center, to this neutral position. And again, you can return and either walk your hands or shift the weight a little bit more towards the heels or sit on the heels for a moment. Now the next movement is going to create a little bit more movement for the pelvis. So here you will be drawing circles with your shoulders around your wrists. And that at the same time will be the movement of drawing circles with your hips, pelvis around the knees. And this could be quite small, or it could be much bigger and make your weight shift more forward towards the hands and backward towards the legs. Now there's still that sense of connection between the top of the head and the tail. You're not losing that here. And you might feel how the weight keeps shifting. A little bit more towards the left leg, a little bit more towards the right leg, a little bit more towards the right hand, and then more towards the left hand. And then you can return to the center. Then you can bring your knees together and move your hips, sway your hips from side to side. If you feel like you might go quite far with this movement, Or again, it could be a small oscillation. And return to the center. Let's just add a little bit more movement for the shoulders here by now. So you will be sliding your hand along the floor so that it's going to reach towards the heels, and at the same time reaching with your hips towards the heels. And then simultaneously the arm will lift and the hips will move forward. So you'll be drawing a large circle with the arm in the air, and the circle happens simultaneously with you shifting the weight back towards the heels and forward to all fours. You can synchronize it with the breath using inhalation to move the arm forward and up, and exhalation to slide it along the floor towards your heels. It's not just the arm that moves. You might notice that together with the arm, it's also the chest moving, the torso opening. Your head will move a little bit as well. And then you can swap the arms using the exhalation to return towards the heels, inhalation to reach forward and up. And return. Now you can tuck the toes under, bring the hands a little bit closer towards you, and find a place where hands get the support from the earth, but you're not sinking into the wrist and you're not pushing or tensing the arms. So there is a micro bend in the elbows, there's some space in all the joints. And you can think of lifting your knees off the ground without pushing away with your hands. What would have to happen somewhere in your body for this movement to be initiated? How you could lift the knees off the ground without you creating this movement by simply pushing yourself away with the hands, as I just did now. So can the hands stay in the same place and be quiet in a sense, and your inner core turning on for this movement to happen. And then you can lower it. And you might want to stay here and maybe shift your hips a little bit and feel how that opens the soles of the feet. You might walk farther, so long as it doesn't cause a pain. It's just a sensation of opening there. It might be slightly uncomfortable, but should not be painful. So you decide where you want to stay with that. And then you can tap the feet on the ground and make your way lower down. So you might stay for a moment on your forearms and then come into a rounded shape. So without really reaching too far with the arms, so the elbows can stay bent, and you're searching for a place where you can create that gentle arch in the spine. And maybe it requires a little bit of shifting. Maybe you feel that your bum is hanging in the air, it doesn't matter. Maybe you want to support your forehead with the hands or bring the knees wider apart. It's all fine, but try not to flatten your spine. So you want that arch to be there so that you can really feel that all the back side of the body is opening towards the ceiling every time when you inhale. And you can stay here just for a few breaths more. Feeling how the entire back of the body, not just the back of the lungs, but the entire back of the body opens on each inhalation. And how everything sinks down to your thighs and how the legs drop farther to the ground. And then you can support yourself with the hands to slowly roll up. Here you might want to sit for a moment on your heels, again noticing if it's okay for you to stay here for a while. Obviously, if the body is sending you quite clear signals that this is not okay, you can shift your sitting position. But maybe you can find yourself in space, find that central axis of the body with the head above the pelvis, and stay here just for a couple breaths more, thanking yourself for finding this short time to start moving your body. Thank you very much.